Hi everyone, Big Anthony here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of this new Weezer EP, Seasons Summer. This is the second installment of Weezer's Seasons EP series that they're doing throughout 2022, the summer edition. Of course, we heard Spring this past spring, which was a short but kind of subpar listen. But even if there were some kind of messy and rickety, disappointing tracks on that thing, there was still something heartening about hearing Weezer attach themselves to yet another creative concept for a release or release series. And with the upbeat song topics, acoustic instrumentation, and sunny melodies, Spring did feel quite springy. But that begs the question, how will Weezer sonically embody the season of summer? Well, first off, this collection of 7 tracks is a much more heavy and electric experience. But outside the slight nods to classical and metal music throughout these tracks, much of what Weezer is doing on here creatively and sonically isn't too far outside of what fans have already heard the band do through like the early and mid-2000s. Now, like with the Spring EP, this EP opens up with a Vivaldi interpolation lifted from his Four Seasons, but the chords and melodies on the first track of this thing are actually pulled from the winter movement of Four Seasons for some reason. Either way, I guess it does fit the very bright and upbeat tone that Rivers is hoping to kick this project off with, which contrasts the storytelling going on in the lyrics, making mention of archangels Michael and Gabriel. Keep in mind all the biblical references on the spring edition of Seasons too. And yeah, from there we have talk of torturing humans, making their lives a living hell out of boredom. We eventually explode into these heavy alt-rock passages that match the biblical proportions of the storytelling. It's a truly proper intro, and it's interesting to hear that Rivers is continuing to incorporate these religious angles in his writing. But then from here we get the track Records, which is about records, songs that are stuck in your head, as well as the vinyl experience. We even hear a drop of epa epa that pops in on the pre-chorus right before the hook goes. And look, it's not the most serious or deepest song that Rivers and company have ever written. In fact, I would say it's like on about the level of something you'd hear on Red or Make Believe or the Black Album. But the track still does have a cute sentiment to it. The only part that really makes me raise an eyebrow is the bridge where he sings about feeling like Rihanna, feeling Lana, I feel Nirvana, so you can fuck off. Leave Rivers alone while he's spinning his 180-gram copy of Ultraviolence. With the following Blue Like Jazz, I think the EP starts to take a nosedive lyrically. Blue like jazz, show me how to be cool like that. This might be one of Rivers' most clunky choruses ever. Not to mention the reference point just feels really weird and off, and the mentions of Rubik's Cubes in the lead up on the pre-chorus just feels even more out of place. I do like the orchestral metal fusion going on in much of the instrumental, but pretty much everything else about the track I could leave. But at least on this track we do get a proper interpolation of Vivaldi's summer movement from Four Seasons. More metal vibes come through on the track The Opposite of Me, which in many ways does kick off like a typical piece of Weezer pop rock, with Rivers crying out about this restlessness, this lack of self-satisfaction that he has, wanting to change, wanting to be different. Sounds pretty catchy all around until we reach this really dark and riffy passage around the midpoint, where things get kinda tortured, with Rivers talking about having a blade ready, vengeance on his mind, and with one thrust he will be transmuted from mortal to immortality. What the hell is Weezer conjuring on this EP? But yeah, this part is one of many signs of things turning dark on summer. It feels even odder to hear these lyrics playing out with Rivers' very boyish lead vocals. But morality and success is also questioned on the track What's the Good of Being Good, which asks, what is the point of being good or good at what you do if you don't have people or loved ones around you to be good for? Without that love and support and people to care for, something could feel missing. The track features quite a dour and very depressive chord progression, but eventually hits this grand and rocking chorus that fits really well. It's a great contrast. It's one of the most solidly structured songs here. Now, of course, part of me does get worried going into a song titled Cuomoville, where Rivers is singing about an imaginary town named after himself, where he depicts everyone living a quiet, safe, and very, very satisfying and serene life, where I guess they farm food and stuff, which is somehow more conceited than the depictions of gold chains that he says the townspeople have no need for. Because, like, what's more egotistical, saying that the people in your town might be a tad bit materialistic, or that the town that you envision named after yourself is an idyllic paradise where nothing goes wrong and everyone's happy and farming food. Yeah, that's how everyone imagines a town or country would be if they had total control of it. Plus, this track also features one of the worst bridges I think Weezer has ever done. Like, I get the dichotomy going on between the town itself and things that may be going on outside the town, but it's just a little heavy-handed narratively, and musically it's just quite an awkward transition. Now, Thank You and Good Night is a pretty decent send-off for the EP. Begins like a cute power pop goodbye, and ends like a sinister expression of Rivers' thoughts on needing to fly with the world's eyes and ears on him and what he's doing. And between these points, we get a series of really sharp and smart musical transitions too, reminiscent of the classical movements that are going through the pieces that are inspiring this EP series. It's just that a lot of the time I wish the production, and especially the lyrics, sounded as, smart as the music. Because ain't no kid on crutches, ain't no kid on crutches, let's see where the love is when I'm buzzing, is quite possibly one of the worst lines on this thing. But yeah, overall, the summer EP here is... it's okay. It's listenable. There are some decent tracks on here, but ultimately, even though it is as short as it is, it still feels like a mixed bag, like the spring EP, and it's kind of hard at this point to gauge whether or not it's much better or much worse. While I think a lot of the production choices on this release over here were more consistent, didn't feel as sloppy, by that same token, a lot of the songwriting is not quite as good. And where all these religious references will continue to push, I'm not exactly sure on the following EPs. I guess we'll see when they drop. But yeah, summer, Weezer, there we have it. I'm feeling a strong 4 to a light 5 on this one. Transition, have you given this EP a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video to check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Weezer, Seasons, forever.